Okay, now that we have the top part of our ring created, we need to go through and do the bottom. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come down here to our work plane and we're going to create a sketch. If I hit F7, it'll remove that jewel so that way I can see where I'm drawing my sketch. I'm going to go ahead and place a circle on there. I measured it and it's going to be 1.55 inches. Now I can go through and extrude that. So flip it down the other way. And the distance I'm going to extrude that is exactly 0.06. So now I can come over here and get rid of that work plane. Turn that off so it's out of the way. Now the key to this one is everything that we've built has been centered on that origin point, that 0, 0. So all of our planes divide this in half. So what we need to do is we need to go through and create a sketch on one of those planes that put it in half. Again, if we hit F7, it's going to cut exactly where that plane's at. So you can see here's our ring pop cut in half. I'm going to use my project geometry and I'm just going to project that edge at the bottom. And this is where I'm going to go through and I'm going to create the ring part of my object. So from the center here, I know I need to go out. The total width of that part of the ring is 0.38, so I'm simply going to do half of that. So the nice thing is the program will do the math for me. So I can come over here. Now the other thing I can do here too is notice these are the exact same dimension, and I always want them to be the same. So instead of typing that in, I can come in here and edit my dimension, and instead of putting that equation, I can say make it the same as this one. So by clicking this, it puts that D47. So if you notice in the top of this box, this one says D48. It's because I'm using this dimension. If I were to look at this one, the top of the box would say D47. So it's just referencing that, so that FX there simply signifies it's a fixed distance and it's based on another object. So if I came over here and I switch this to say divided by 3, they both change equally. So and then there's that D47 like what we saw in the 48 box. So it's just a handy way to create the dimensions and still be able to reference them. Okay, so with this, I know I'm going to go down at 60 degrees. Well, from here to here is where I want 60. Well, it's measuring from this line over. So what I need to do is I need to take out of 180 degrees, I need to minus 60. So again, if you can't do the math in your head, the program will do it. I would always recommend trying to do the math yourself though. Alright, so over here I'm going to be 60 degrees. Now notice I didn't set a length to these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim them to fit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and create 2 circles. And my circles are going to have a radius of 0.39. So I need to multiply that by 2. And then I'm going to create another one directly on top of that. This is going to be the inside of my ring, which is 0.32, and I'm going to multiply that by 2 as well. So now I have my 2 circles in there. Up here I'm going to use my vertical constraint, and I'm going to lock this vertically with the midpoint here. So that way everything's on that center axis. So all I should have to do is come in here and dimension from the center of my circle to the top edge of, or the bottom part of my ring essentially, which is 0.4425. Now you can see where these 60-degree angles come in. What I can do is I can come in here and trim those. So I'm going to trim it just so that way it hits my circle. So now I have that point. Down here at the bottom, the ring isn't fully together. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put a line so I have kind of a plane of reference. So I just went kind of straight down with that. And because I'm referencing it, I'm just going to turn this into a construction line. So if I highlight it and then come up here and hit construction, notice how it goes to a dash line. The benefit of that is it allows me to reference that geometry without fully using it. So here I want my opening from here to here to be a total of 30 degrees. So I need to go 15 beyond 90, which is 105. Oh, sorry, I want 105 in degrees. And then I want to do the same thing, but it's going to be 15 less than 90. So we're going to be 75. So that way my total distance in there from this line to this line is essentially 30 degrees. Now again, I can come in here, I can trim this. Now if I trim up here, notice it turns them to green lines again. So what I want to do is I want to put some other lines in to reference that. So I draw on 2 new lines so that way they're set up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 2 lines. If I hold the control key down, I can click both of them and come up here and click them as construction lines again. And then if I use my collinear constraint, I can make these 2 collinear, which basically means they run along the same path. Now I can come in here and I can trim out the center. And I'm going to come up here and trim that part out. Now notice when I trim that out, all of a sudden now I've got these green lines. I lost my radius dimension that I had before. So my circle hasn't changed, but in order to lock them in place, I need to go through and put in that radius dimension. So now I can go ahead, I've got all my dimensions in, I can finish this out. Now when I extrude this, I built it on the center axis, so I don't just want to go one direction with this. In the past we've done just one way or the other. I want to go out both directions evenly, and the thickness of this is 0.23. Now the other thing, if you notice our actual ring pops, it's not just square on that edge, it's got a little bit of a rounded corner. So what I can do is I can use my fillet, which will round the edge, and my rounded edge is about 0.03, give or take. So you can kind of see, and I can come in here and I can round all the edges if I want and make it look good and fancy inside and out. If I hold the F4 key down, I can click and rotate my screen. That way I can get all these different edges in there. And then once I have all the edges, I can simply hit the check mark or click OK. And then that is my finished ring pop. Now if you want to go to another level and you want to go through and even colorize your ring pop, you can. So maybe I want the top part of this jewel to be colored. I can actually come in here and I can select the material. So over here in the modeling window, what I've done is I've selected the 2 parts that made up that extrusion, and then if I come here to my material, I can pick a color. So maybe I want red. If I start typing in red, it'll jump me down there faster. So then it'll colorize that, and I can do the same thing here. If I highlight those, maybe I want that part to say be blue. I can come here and do blue, and then maybe I want to dress this up and I'm going to make it slightly different. I'm going to take those filleted edges and I'm going to make them black, just for kind of some fancier colors. So you can also go through and you can shade it differently by individual faces. So there's a lot of customization that can go into this as well.